Hi everyone, welcome back to A Town Called Yarn, obviously not a real town. My name's Harrison and this is episode 11 of my, what is this? It's just a normal knitting crochet podcast where I talk about knitting and crochet, surprisingly enough, as well as yarn and all those kinds of things. Like I said, episode 11, and I don't really have anything else to say about it being episode 11 actually. I don't know why I called that out. Was there anything? 11's a fun number. So this is going to be a pretty kind of typical video. I don't have any FOs this week, but I do have a few whips, and then I'm going to do a section specifically about the MKAL, so about Stephen West's MKAL, because I don't want to just throw that into my whips, because I know some of you might be going along with it and I don't want to spoil anything. So I'll have that as its own section, and then I will timestamp down below for before and after, and I will also put the time on screen for when I'm talking about that, just so if you want to avoid spoilers, you can avoid spoilers. And I don't think there's anything. It's been 2 weeks since I last spoke to you, which is pretty normal. Nothing super eventful. It's felt like quite a quick 2 weeks, but I also feel like that's just something everyone says these days. It just feels like time's absolutely moving on, and the weather's been a bit mad as well. I know if you live in Florida, you've obviously had really, really extreme weather. In the UK, we've had nothing quite extreme. We're quite fortunate that we get very unsettled weather, but we never get kind of hurricanes or anything like that. It's just been raining a lot. So it's been kind of wet, which I actually don't mind, because as someone who enjoys sitting inside and playing with yarn, I'm okay if it's raining outside. But it has meant those kind of trips to work have been a little bit soggy. But I think that's everything. I think let's just jump straight in to whips. So I have 3 whips because of the MKAL. So I have 4 whips including the MKAL, but 3 that aren't the MKAL because of, say the word MKAL more times, because of that. I've not made loads of progress on my whips, so we'll probably get through them relatively quickly. And that will probably be true for most of October. So I might see the next time I do one of these, I might talk about some other things, I might show some other things, just so it's not, here's a couple of rows on a blanket and MKAL for the whole month. But I do have some progress on the whips, because the MKAL only started a week ago at the time of filming, so there was a whole week before that I did a decent amount of knitting and crochet. So let's start with my dad's hat. So if you watched before, you'll know, also if you have watched before, thanks for coming back. If you're new here, I hope you enjoy. If you want to subscribe, that would be wonderful. If you've watched one of these before and you haven't subscribed yet, that would also be wonderful. But don't worry, I don't take it personally if you don't. I'm kind of rubbish at subscribing at people, to be honest. There's people that I watch on YouTube that I watch every one of their videos, but I forget to subscribe to them. They get recommended to me, so I don't know what I'm saying about that, but no worries if you don't. So, but if you have watched before, you'll have seen this hat. So I knit myself a Sockhead hat by Kelly McClure back in the summer, and that was my first ever knitting in the round project, which I really, really enjoyed. I'm knitting another one of those patterns. I heavily modified that pattern, mostly in length of all the sections, so I did a bit more ribbing and I did a little bit less of the actual length, so it was more of a fisherman's kind of beanie style, which I don't know if that's actually what they're called. That's just what I always think of them as, but I think you'll understand what I mean when I say that. And I'm modifying my dad's again, so it's based on the maths, and it will be the decreases of that pattern, but it's not the size and won't be the shape of that pattern. So I'm knitting this out of a sock set of Ainsworth and Prin, which is the yarn company of the Knitting Shed, who you might have heard of. They sell other things on the Knitting Shed website, and I picked this up at the 2023 Southern Wool Show. So this brown section here was the contrast colour intended for the socks, and then the blue is the main skein that I'm on at the moment. So I've done about 5 inches of ribbing for the brim. I thought I'd get more of that out of the brown, but I didn't in the end, so I ended up using some of the blue, which is fine, because I've got a whole, it was 120 grams and I won't use anywhere near that for the whole hat. And now I'm just into the stockinette, and if I'm honest, if you have been watching before, you might not even notice that I've made any progress, because I think I might have literally put 6 rounds into this, And now that I'm showing it to you, I'm not even sure why I'm showing it to you as a whip. So if you're new here, maybe this is interesting, but if you have been here before, then you're just seeing the exact same state of hat that you did before. I should really put a progress keeper in it. I might try and do that for the next couple of weeks, but I don't envision me getting a lot of progress on this unless I really catch up with the MKAL, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I really love this yarn. It's a slightly thicker fingering than I'm used to using, which I'm enjoying the fabric of because it's making it just slightly more plush, and also is meaning I'm getting a slightly wider gauge, which will be better because I think otherwise it would be too small for my dad. And I think I have the tag in here, I do. It is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon blend of 4-ply, and that is the Ainsworth and Prin logo. I really, really like it. It's a really lovely, I think it's really going to suit my dad. I think he'll really like it. And I think at some point, because I think this is a colourway they do quite often, I will probably get another one because I might make myself something in it. I'm knitting these on 3.5, no, I'm knitting these on 4mm Leica 16-inch circulars. I knit the ribbing on 3.5 and then moved up to 4 for the rest of the hat, which I'm happy about because, I mean, I've never actually tried not doing that. It's just something that people do on the internet. So I, as a follower of other people, I just do that as well. I think I do think the tension comes out quite even. So I'm assuming that it's a good idea for me. But that is in a Butternut Handmade bag by the wonderful Conchetta, who makes these bags. Almost all of my project bags, apart from one, which, and I say this every episode as well, are one of their bags. I really, really love them. I'm probably going to get some more soon. I might get my mum one for Christmas as well, actually, because she knits and she doesn't really use project bags, and I think she'd enjoy it. Whip number 1, done. Let's do whip number 2. This is the, so this isn't a pattern, this is just a moss stitch blanket that I am using the, who is it? I'm using the Pixie Yarns Footsteps Yarn Club. Let me show you the full thing. So the Footsteps Yarn Club is a quarterly club. It's not a mystery club or anything. Oh, I suppose it kind of is because you don't know the full year ahead, but you don't have to wait for them to come through the door. You kind of buy them knowing all the colours, and it's a full year fade. So I started this at the start of the year, and we're currently in quarter 3 in terms of the yarn. So if I start from the beginning, we started in these blues, moved up through greens, up through yellows, into the oranges, I'm running out of hand space, into the oranges, and then through kind of some reds and into the purples. So this colour here is the first colour of quarter 3, and this is the one that I've just finished. So last time I spoke to you, I think I'd just done a few, maybe an inch of this colour, if that. So I've just finished fur colour, and I have wound up and I'm ready to add the next colour in. So if that focuses, that's showing up pretty true to colour. So it's kind of a similar tone, just lighter in general, because we're moving towards, and apologies for the rustling, we're moving towards kind of much lighter kind of lilacs in general. This is going slower than it used to, I think, just because I've got more projects on the go than I did earlier in the year, because I've got a bit more into my knitting, because I only started knitting at the start of this year, so I'm kind of just really enjoying all the new fun things, whereas crochet, I only did that for a year before I started knitting, but it's not quite as, if I want to try something new, I'm not reaching for a moss stitch blanket, but I'm really enjoying the yarn, I'm really enjoying the project, and I'm really happy that I'll have it. And I don't care if it takes me an extra few months, I don't need to finish it on time. No one's making me finish it at any point. And that is also in a Butternut Handmade bag. This was actually one that I asked for kind of a custom size, because this is larger than the ones that she offers on her website, and it's the perfect size for this blanket. For what will eventually be, so I'm getting 6 50-gram skeins every quarter, so eventually it will be 12, yes, quick maths, eventually it will be 12 full skeins, so a quite weighty blanket, and it will definitely fit in here, and I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy that I got this. And it's a fun little kind of wildlife pattern, various little kind of hares and ducks and birds and foxes, that kind of thing. And that's everything on that. So my third and penultimate whip, but the final one that I'll do in the whip section. I do have some other stuff I'm going to talk about as well after the MKAL bit. So I'm not just going to brace for more whips and then talk about MKAL. If you're not interested in the MKAL. So this is, I was going to wear this but for the video, but I ended up getting a bit warm, so I took it off. So this is a shift cowl that I made earlier in the year. So this is the shift cowl by Andrea Lowry, and I made this using 3 skeins of spin cycle yarns, which are those kinds of colour fading yarns. I really love this. I really love the way it looks. I really like making it. But I wanted to make another one, but I didn't want to spend £90 on yarn for it because it's £90 for 150 grams. It's quite a spenny yarn, and it's fun, but I just didn't want, felt a bit much. I bought this yarn just after I got my bonus at work, so it felt kind of a bit of a frivolous treat, whereas just in a random August purchase felt a bit much. And as I mentioned last episode, I'm currently in a try different yarn bases kind of phase where I want to try things that aren't just superwash merino nylons. This, to be fair, isn't superwash merino nylon. I don't actually know what the spin cycle base is, but it's a nice kind of, not too woolly, but not kind of super slippery yarn. I enjoyed using it, but I started watching quite a lot of John Arbon videos on YouTube, the thing you're watching this on, and I saw they have a base called Yarnadelic. So the shift cowl is made out of sport weight yarn, which isn't super common in the UK. We tend to go straight from fingering to DK. So I was happy to find another sport weight yarn. I think you could make this out of fingering. You could probably adapt it quite easily for DK as well. So I bought 3 colours of this, and I'm making a not quite as shifty shift cowl, but where I'm still moving the colours around so it will still have an overall kind of progression of colour across it. If that makes any sense. That might have just been a load of waffle. But I am halfway through section 3. Have I finished section 3 and I'm on section 4? I think I might have finished section 3. So when I last spoke to you, I am getting all tangled up with my needles and yarn. When I last spoke to you, I had just finished this section, which is section 2, which I carried on using the blue from section 1, but I added in the orange colour. Now I am using the, it's called Nobody Knows. It's kind of, you can kind of see it there. There's lots of colour in it, but from far away it's a grey. I'm now using this as the background, and I've started using the blue as the bits in between that I'm kind of holding and doing the slip stitches with. I've kind of gone off piste a little bit with the way that Andrea Lowry tells you to use your colours. So she'll tell you for this section use A and B. I'm just going to kind of, which I did for the first 2 sections, I'm now just going to kind of put colours where I want to put them, especially now I know how it works up, having done one before. I can just kind of make decisions on that, where they're solids as well, so they won't be fading. And I'm really happy with that. This is going a lot faster than it did before, I think because I know the pattern and I'm a lot more confident with it, whereas before I was kind of, had to keep checking the pattern constantly. Make one left and make one right have clicked for this pattern. Before I was having to check every single time which one on every right size row. I was having to put it down, go online, look up which way I need to do that. So I'm happy that that's clicked. And I'm happy with how this is turning out. I'm not in a rush to finish this, but other than the MKAL, this is probably the knitting that I'm most excited to work on. So if I do catch up on the MKAL, I'll probably jump to this. Although saying that, the hat for my dad is a gift that I need to have done for Christmas, so at some point I will have to do that one. And without sounding like a broken record, also a Butternut Handmade bag in this kind of floral, I think I just hit the camera with in this kind of floral leafy print. Again, really like this one. So, I feel like we've rushed, maybe not too much. So those are all of my whips. I'm happy with them at the moment. I don't have too many whips because I wanted to purposefully cut down on my whips a little bit so that I could, oh, I've just remembered I was going to make a tea. I love a tea afterwards. I was purposely trying to make room for the MKAL. I didn't want the MKAL to feel like it was getting in the way of whips I wanted to work on. So I kind of in August was like, I'm not going to start anything new unless I'm kind of happy with putting it down or with it kind of taking second rate to the MKAL. And that's happening so far. So let's talk MKAL. After the MKAL, I'm going to talk about some yarn that's come in and also a few other things that I've acquired. I say that like it was accidental, I bought them. And then that will feed quite nicely into some gift knit plans that I want to talk about, because it's that kind of year. I've just, at work, I'll talk about this later. Let's talk about the MKAL. So I'm going to put a timer up on screen. So this is the time to jump to in the video if you want to skip this entire section. If you go into the description below, you'll also be able to just click on a link that will jump you to the next section, which will be called kind of yarn acquisition, yarn haul, that kind of thing. So if you don't want spoilers, move on. Nothing to see here. If you have already done this, so you don't care about spoilers, or if you're not doing it and just enjoy seeing other people's, thanks for hanging around. MKAL. So if you don't know what it is, Stephen West, who is a knitwear designer and also co-owns the shop Stephen and Penelope in Amsterdam, which is a yarn store, every year does an MKAL in October, which is a mystery knit along. Has a different theme, different kind of yarn, and you make a shawl every year. This is the first year I'm doing this because last year I didn't knit. So I wanted to get involved this year for two main reasons. One, I love an activity. I love something that's just kind of like makes the month of October feel like there's something going on, makes it feel like a bit of a community thing. Second, I wanted something that just kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, something that gave me a chance to learn new techniques where I didn't have to feel daunted by future techniques because I was already in progress. So by the time Clue 3 comes out, there might be something that's really tricky, but I've already done Clue 1 and Clue 2, so I'm already on the way, so I will just kind of jump into it. So that's why I'm doing the MKAL. I'm enjoying it so far. I have, as of this morning, so I'm filming this on Friday the 11th. Clue 2 came out on Friday the 10th, so I was like 12 hours behind keeping up with the clues coming out, which I'm happy with, especially because I didn't knit at all on Wednesday and I've been working during the week, so I didn't have like an infinite amount of time. I am using it's two colours of yarn this year. Let me put that to one side and I'll show you the yarns first. So I'm using two colours of yarn so this was a kit that I got from Stephen and Penelope, so it was purposefully made for the MKAL. I'm using, so it's Twisted Ambitions yarn, which is, I think they're based in America, so I think it's the first time I've had hand-dyed yarn from an American dyer. And the two colours, one's called Ocean, one's called Golden Slumbers. You don't win any awards for guessing which is which, because it's quite obvious. So this one is Golden Slumbers, which I'm using as my main colour. And then this colour is Ocean, which I'm using as my contrast. So it's a really super variegated, predominantly blue, but with specks of a load of different colours in there as well. And then I also, for any future mohair dares, which I'll talk about a little bit later, got a ball of glow hair in this yellow colour, which I'll talk about later. So, Clue 1. Clue 1 had 4 sections in, and it honestly felt like a lot of knitting compared to what I was prepared for, which is why I'm quite happy that I managed to get it done in a week, because I wouldn't have got this done in a week if it was just like a normal pattern that I picked up. It would have taken me much longer. So, section 1, we created 3 of these semicircles. So you cast on here and then you kind of knit outwards, and we created 3 of them. So there's 3 along the run. It's getting a bit twisted. I think I could have probably used a longer cable, to be honest. I'm already quite tight, quite filling up my cable. And there's the 3rd one. Clue 2. There's 3 sections. There's not 4 sections, there's 3. Clue 2 is, I don't know what's going on there. was joining those triangles together. So you started at one edge and you created these garter stripe sections here that kind of grow out and then connect to the semicircles, there we go, as it goes along the edge. And then you joined two together there, and then you did that all the way along. Clue 3 was called Bubbles, and honestly this terrified me a little bit. I'm really happy that I managed to get it done, but it felt like a lot. No, actually it didn't feel like a lot. It didn't even take me that long. It's just, I think this was the first bit. I did really well up until this point. My stitch count was always on. I felt like I got it. I didn't feel like I made any mistakes. And then it got to this bubble section and it just felt like it was nothing like anything I'd ever done before. So there's a slight mistake towards the start, just in terms of where I've picked up the bubble. But it's not massive, and it's not kind of, I was really worried that I was just going to drop a load of stitches. And if I'm honest, if I dropped a load of stitches, I'd have probably put this away and never looked at it again. Because I already feel like I've put so much work into this that if it goes wrong, I'm past the point of no return in terms of like starting again. But the bubble section is this bit at the top, and they're quite textured. It's quite hard to show on camera, but they're quite textured. So they cinch in at either side and you get like an actual bubble. And that goes all the way along there. And that was section 1. Like I said, I'm quite happy with it. It felt like a lot of knitting, and it also felt slightly repetitive at times, in terms of you have to make 3 semicircles, and then the joining, or the garter stripe sections, you have to do 4 times. However, because of the yarn, and because you're kind of striping it, it made it not feel quite as laborious as I think it would have otherwise. And I've caught up, or I'm up to date in terms of time, so I'm happy about that. I just need to be really careful that I didn't accidentally drop any stitches. I need to kind of like keep an eye on some of these joins. Let me hold it up so you can kind of see. I'm really happy with how these yarns are turning out. I think they work together really, really nicely. Section 2 came out yesterday, so on Thursday the 10th. And I won't talk about it too much because I feel like less people will have done it, and I've not knitted any of section 2. And I've decided, like I said, I'm filming this on Friday. I've decided that I'm just not going to think about it today, and I'm going to pick it and have a look at it on Saturday. It's brioche, which I was expecting, and I'm not super mad about because I'd done some practice brioche beforehand because I knew it might come up. And I'm very glad I'm not trying it for the first time with almost 400 stitches on the needles. The thing with brioche is I don't know how to fix it at all. So if anything does go wrong, it's kind of gone. And I'm okay with there being small mistakes. I'm not a super perfectionist when I knit. I do want everything to look neat, and I want everything to look like, I don't want it to look super messy, but if there's the odd brioche stitch that's like round the wrong way, I'm not super precious about that. I won't like rip it all out and start it again. It's going to be a lot of knitting because, like I say, we're already at 400 stitches, or we're at like maybe 370, 380, I think. So there's a lot of stitches on the needles, and brioche isn't the fastest because you're having to knit every row twice. I think it counts as double knitting in terms of knitting on the front and back at the same time. Having said that, I like the way it looks. I've watched, for clue 1, I don't know, this is again Butternut Handmade bag. For clue 1, I didn't look ahead. I kind of watched each section as they came, so I just knew what I was about to do. Section 2, the video was quite short on YouTube, so I ended up, and it was mainly the video as a tutorial for brioche, because that's the majority of the section. So I kind of jumped ahead to see how it looks, and it does look really good in brioche. There is an alternative. There's a garter eyelet section, but which will be easier and will be quicker, and there's kind of 2 sections of brioche in clue 2. So there's a bit of me that thinks I might do one of those in the garter eyelet if I find that, one, it's taking me forever, or if I just want a bit of variety in my knitting. But I think I'm going to try and do the pattern as written, just as brioche. And it doesn't look like, it's a lot of knitting still, but it doesn't look like too much. There's not a lot of joining or any separate sections for clue 2. So I'm thinking I might be able to keep up again for another week. I have next week, so the next time I film one of these, clue 4 will have just come out. So all the clues will be out, and I will have hopefully caught up with clue 3 at that point. So I'm hoping to keep up at that point. Next week, when clue 3 comes out, I have 3 days off work. I have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I have things I'm doing on those days, but it does mean that my knitting time will be a bit higher than it normally is. So I think there's a good chance I might be able to keep up. And if I got to finish this in the month of October, I'd be really chuffed with myself, because if you've watched earlier videos kind of through the summer, I made his faded undulation shawl, and that took me 4 months and is a much simpler pattern. And granted, it was one of the first like 5 things I'd ever knit, but going from 4 months to 1 month would be great, because I'm not super precious about knitting fast. I just like being able to finish things and then start new things and then being able to work through some more yarn. So fingers crossed for me. But that's all I'll say on the MKAL. So if you've clicked ahead, I've stopped talking about the MKAL now, so no more spoilers. Let's talk acquisitions, so things that I've purchased or have arrived at my house, which I also purchased. None of these were surprises. Let's talk first about, for the first time, I'm going to show you some yarn that's not been put straight into the project. So this is kind of, it is a whip, but I've not made any progress on it, so it's more of the yarn that I'm going to talk about. But just a quick overview, I am making a granny wrap triangle, or a granny triangle wrap, using the Secret Treasure Box Yarn Club by Green Lambkin Yarns, and I've been doing this all year. So it's a monthly club where you get 4 20-gram DK minis, and I'm just throwing them all in this, and I really love the way it's turning out. You're getting all these pops of different colour. It's really variegated, really all over the place, but also feels quite, I wouldn't say cohesive, because it's kind of mad to call this cohesive with all the different colours in it, but it feels like it has a vibe, if that makes sense. Which I'm really happy with. This is the only one of my projects that isn't in a Butternut Handmade bag. This is in a bag I made back in March, I think. So the yarn came in, and I just haven't, because of the MKAL, I just haven't had a chance to put these in yet. Normally, and I will do this later, and it will be, oh, I just knocked the, let's knock you back. God knows where you were actually. Not even centered now. There we go. So normally I throw these straight in, I kind of get it done of an evening, but I just haven't had the chance this week. So I can show you the 4 colours. I normally wind them into balls by hand, but this time I used a yarn swift just so I didn't have to use my hand for it. And I quite like it. So these are the 4 colours that will be going in this month. So you've got this really kind of pink and purple, kind of quite deep, but still quite bright. You've got this mixture, it's actually probably easier to show them one by one. You've got this mixture of, it's mermaid vibes, right? Of blue and pink, which I really like. You've got this green that's kind of some light greens with some peckles of some browns and some deeper greens. And then you've got this colour, which is this predominantly yellow with some oranges, teals and pinks in it. This one is very much kind of tropical, just has tropical vibes. So those 4 came in this month. I will be putting those straight into this, and then we're on, I think there's only 3 more months left, so we're coming towards the end of it, which I'm happy. I mean, I'm not happy that it's going to finish because I've really enjoyed it, but I'm happy that I'll be able to have it without having ends in it, and then I'll be able to maybe start something new next year. Or not maybe, I definitely will be able to. Potentially with one of Suzanne at Green Lambkin Yarns yarn clubs, but maybe with another yarn club. Talking of yarn clubs, you're going to think I'm a liar. I spoke last episode about cancelling 2 of my yarn clubs, which I have done, but it turns out I thought I cancelled them before the next one was going to come out. Turns out I didn't, which I'm okay with. Because I didn't cancel them because I didn't like them. I cancelled them because I just have so many minis that I have no uses for that I needed to stop that happening. But I'm also kind of happy that these have come in. So the first one is the Lottie knits. So these are both September's colourway. So everyone should have had these by now. So the first one is the Lottie knits Mini Fade Club. At the base is her Little Bird sock, which is an 80% 20% superwash merino nylon blend. And The theme of this club is the mini fade club, so each month is its own little 5-colour fade, which is quite unique actually, and I do like the concept. What it means is that I just have had lots of these that I have no real use for. So they've kind of just been going in a bag, and I'm happy to have them, but I just need to not have more of them, which is why I've cancelled this one. But it's a really fun club, and it's the last year she's doing this, which is kind of why I got into it, even though I'd never done it before. But I kind of got suckered in by the, oh, it's never going to happen again, or at least not next year. The next one is the Mini Society by Cool Woolings, and this is it's the September colourway, but when you see it, you'll know it's actually very October themed. I'm not sure what the dyer of the Cool Woolings is called, but she does something really fun where some of these colourways for the months have just been colours. So like one was just like a load of different greens, one was like a kind of grey to black fade. For June though, she actually sent you 6 colourways instead of 5 because she did the whole pride flag. And for September, she's gone very Halloween vibes, which I'm really happy about. I've said vibes like 100 times. It is a word I say, but I feel like I haven't said it as much as I have in the last like 5 minutes. But this is really fun, and I'm really happy to have these because it means now I have a little set of minis for a Halloween project at some point. And I really love that she's doing them as their themes, which means I have cancelled just before what inevitably is going to be a Christmas colourway, but it's still the right thing because I'm not going to make a Christmas project with them this year, so I can get over that. But I love Christmas, so I think I would really enjoy the Christmas colourway. But I just love, this is such a like classic Halloween colour. I'm really excited to think of something to do with these, probably next Halloween at this point, but exciting nonetheless. And then the last yarn, and then there's also a book that's arrived. So the last yarn is from Wool Warehouse. I have been influenced by, what is their names? Is it the Wool and Wishes? I'm really bad at remembering. Is it Wool and Wishes? Yeah. Over at the Wool and Wishes podcast, which is Tracy and Kirsty, who I really enjoy the content of, really enjoy the videos, they've both at some point bought this, which is the Make It Tweed by Rico Design, which I'm assuming is Rico Design. And what it is it's a really, really fine lace weight yarn. So like, very fine. It's not going to focus on that. But then it's got little slubs. So you can hold it double with any yarn, and then it gives it a tweedy effect. And this is, I think they have multiple colourways, but this one is, oh, I don't think it has a name on it, but I think it's like I think it's called like Rainbow or something. And I'm really happy to have it. I don't have a project in mind. They just spoke about it a little bit on their last video, and then I was just like, I'm doing a Wool Warehouse order. I should add this so I have it for when I want it. It's 50 grams, which is 445 meters, so it would be enough easily for a full skein of fingering weight. I might hold it double into like a hat potentially, just to give it a little bit of I might buy like some plain, because I've got I might do that actually. I might buy a couple of skeins of kind of maybe undyed. I've just thrown it on the floor. Of maybe undyed or like a kind of quite neutral plain colour that I could hold this with, so that you kind of get the full effect of all the different colours. And then the next thing I bought, which leads me in quite nicely to talk about gift knits, is I bought a couple of skeins of this King Cole bamboo cotton in their DK weight in the colour Dusty Pink, which is, it's super, super soft. It's probably the softest cotton that I've ever felt. And I bought this to make my sister some face cloths. Me and my sister both pretty into our skincare, and I thought it'd be fun. She's having an extension built, so they're getting a new bathroom as part of that. I thought it'd be fun for her to have some hand knitted kind of flannels for her face. And I'm planning on knitting them kind of predominantly garter, but then with a monogram of her initials in, kind of textured in by purling in those bits. which I've not. I need to figure out how I'm going to do that at some point. But I bought 2 skeins of this, so my plan is to make maybe 5 of those. I think they'll be quite quick to knit up. And I was surprised by how soft it was. I'm happy to use a bamboo cotton because the flannels I buy online, I think I tend to lean to a bamboo flannel because I just find they're really soft. So, and that's true of this as well. And that was, like I said, from Wool Warehouse. So I've just thrown that in my face. I've actually got one more thing to talk about, and then I'll talk more about gift knitting. So the last thing was a book that I bought called The Doodle Knit Directory. So this is by Jamie Lomax, who is the same person who does the Doodle decks that you'll have probably seen, and they do themed ones and they do special edition ones for different events sometimes. What they've done is they've made a book that has a lot of that content in. I think they're probably completely different charts to the actual decks, but it has the same, it has patterns in and lots of different colour charts, which I won't show you because obviously they're charts, so, and it's a book, but you'll be able to see on the front all the different textures, and they're split by seasons. And I'm excited to have this. It didn't have really the kind of things that I wanted in it initially, and I should have checked. It's not the book's fault at all. I wanted there to be a bat pattern in this for, I spoke a couple of weeks ago about making my boyfriend a hot water bottle cover, and I want it to be bats and rats, and I'm just yet to find a good colour chart for those. And there was just a bit of me where I was like, there's like 200 in this, surely there's going to be bats and rats. There isn't, which makes sense because that is quite niche, especially the rat, but there's loads of really, really cool colour charts in this, and a good mixture of kind of actual motifs like trees and like ducks, but then also some really, really simple like kind of striped patterns or different textures that you would put maybe in between different motifs, which is a lot of fun. I'm really happy to have this. It's probably not going to be something I dive straight into because I've never done colour work before, but I'm happy to have this because it will let me kind of make things. It will let me design things a little bit for various people. I'll be able to kind of, there'll be some motifs in here that feel very much like my dad, that maybe I'll make him a hat, or they'll feel like my mum and I might make her a scarf, and that kind of thing. I think it'll be really, really good for gift knitting in the future. And it's also just really fun to look over. And it's also, it was only £13 on Amazon. I think that was a little bit of a discount, but the doodle decks themselves, I think, are £20 normally when they're sold in the UK. So this felt like a steal because you get a lot more charts in this than you would in one doodle deck. And that's all I have to say about that. So that's everything that I have purchased since we last spoke, or that has arrived. No, yeah, purchased. So let's talk a little bit about gift knits. I've kind of already done it. So I've kind of already spoken about the face cloths that I'm going to make my sister. I've also already spoken about the hat that I'm going to make my dad. My mum, the faded undulation that I spoke about a little bit earlier, I'm going to give that to my mum. So that's that. I'm actually maybe not going to speak about gift knits for very long because now I'm talking about it and I'm like, I don't really have a lot to say. So face cloths, hat, faded undulation, and I'm gonna make my boyfriend some hand warmers, some kind of fingerless mittens. The only thing that I don't know is I don't know how people make gift knits without the person they live with knowing they're making them. So that might be less of a surprise, but it will still be a gift knit because it'll probably take a while. And I've decided that making those hand warmers is going to be the way I get into making small circular projects. So I'm going to make them before I try and make a pair of socks, because it's just something about socks that's still really daunting to me. I do really want to make socks. I really want to have hand knitted socks. I really want to gift them, but I'm going to start with hand warmers because there's no heel turn, so I can just get used to knitting on that kind of needle. So that's it. So actually it's probably a bit much for me to have even said that there's a section of gift knitting, because what I've done is just list some gifts. But let me know if, I've seen a few people in the comments on the last video. Thank you for all the comments recently as well. I've had kind of a little bit of an influx of comments and I really love reading them and replying to them. It's kind of one of the reasons why I made this channel. Was my boyfriend has autism, which means he's Oh, I just got bunged up all of a sudden, which means he's not great at pretending he's interested in things that he's not interested in. So it means a lot of my knitting chat falls on deaf ears. So being able to talk to people on the internet was kind of my resolve for that, and it's been really fun. I really enjoyed making these. Like I said, this is episode 11, so I've enjoyed every one of them, and I'm looking forward to making more of them. I do have some plans over the next few months for some kind of additional content. I sound ridiculous, for some additional videos. So I am currently looking at quite a large yarn stash that I've acquired over the last couple of years, and I need to go through it. So I think I'm going to do a yarn stash kind of clear out / organisation video. I think I'm going to try and get rid of a bunch of stuff that I know I'll never use, especially now I've fallen into that predominantly making stuff with hand-dyed yarn, and I've got a good amount of it. So I kind of know with the amount of time I'll spend knitting that I probably won't get around to as much of the commercial yarn. So I'm thinking I might just give that to people that I know that knit, like my mum or my boyfriend's sister-in-law who knit. I might see if they want that, because they might use that more rather than it just sitting on a shelf and getting a bit dusty. I'm also currently, I guess not planning, but I'm going to make a video. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, probably in November at some point, so probably in a couple of videos time. I'm currently working out the way I want to do advents and the way I want to show advents, because if I just did them in these episodes, if I wanted to show all of the advents, there would just be a section at the end of each video where it's like, here's the last 14 days of advent. And I have 4 advents this year, so that would just be a lot of little mini skeins that I'm holding up. So I think what I'm going to do is film throughout the whole month of December and film every day, but not post every day. I post once at the end of the month. And then also do a bit of a project vlog of the things I'm making with my advent projects throughout that month. And I think that will be fun, and I think be slightly different, and be something that then I can post after Christmas. And that's like exactly the kind of thing I would love to watch in between Christmas and New Year's, because it lets you kind of cling on to Christmas, but also isn't as overwhelming as having like 25 to half-hour videos to watch. I love people that do Vlogmas. I really enjoy other people doing Vlogmas, because then I get to watch them, but it just couldn't be me. I'm not that interested. I don't do enough. It would just be me saying, hi, it's 6 AM, I'm having a coffee and I'm about to go log on at work, and then, hi, it's 4 o'clock, I've just finished work. No, I'm gonna have dinner, so, which wouldn't be super interesting for anyone. But I will, like I said, I will talk about that a little bit more. I'll probably talk about that late November to kind of give an idea of what's going on then. But I think that's everything for this video. It's been kind of just over 40 minutes, so I will leave it there. If you're still watching, thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this video, a like would be wonderful. And if you're not subscribed and you've watched all of this, subscribing would be great. But if you forget, or if you just don't want to, no worries. And I will see you in the next one for episode 12. So I will see you then. Bye.